So I've been waiting to film all morning, except someone is doing some sort of works in the apartment above, which #apartment living I can't do anything about. So if anyone hears hammering or drilling in this video, I sincerely apologise, but I have no control over it. Hi guys, it's Steffi. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be sharing with you my Emojiathon wrap-up and some of my July TBR. Now, because I've done weekly wrap-ups featuring all of these videos, I'm not going to go into the summaries of them. I'm just going to wrap up the challenges that I completed, which I believe I completed 14 out of 20 something challenges, and that was with 13 books. So one book I did cross over onto 2 challenges. I was originally only going to use science fiction books for this, but as I read on through the month, I had to break up the science fiction with other stuff. So some of those books I was able to slot into some of these challenges, which makes me really happy because it's just about participating and, you know, having fun. And I did that. I really enjoyed using the Emojiathon challenge as a opportunity to look at the books that I have on my shelf. At the end of that, I will show you guys some of the books that I'm planning on reading this month. The first challenge was to read a book that you bought because of its cover, and for that I selected Starflight and I actually read it. I gave Starflight 4 out of 5 stars. The next challenge I completed was to read a book that makes you happy just thinking about it, and that was The Three-Body Problem by Cixin Liu. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. This was a really interesting, kind of complicated, but still very happy thought-making read. My third challenge was to read a futuristic or sci-fi book, and for that I picked Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey, which is the first book in the Expanse series. I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this, and I really want to keep reading the series as soon as I cut down on my TBR. For my freebie, I threw in No Ordinary Star, which was an ebook that I read as part of the MC Frank Street team. So I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Really enjoyed it, really enjoying the series. I've read the first and the second books now, and I'm waiting for the third one to be released later this year. The next challenge I completed was to read a 2016-2017 release, and quite frankly, a lot of these could have fit on this particular challenge, but I chose to read The Diabolic by S.J. Kincaid. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars as well. I actually really enjoyed the concept behind this. I don't think the story was executed as well as it could have been, but I still enjoyed it a lot. I wasn't originally going to do the challenge for read a cry-worthy book, but as I read a book that was definitely cry-worthy, I decided to include it, and that was The Naming of Tishkin Silk by Glenda Millard. This is what I have termed the happy sad book, and I absolutely adored it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. The next challenge was to read a book that you have been anticipating, and I read Thrawn by Timothy Zahn, which is part of the new Star Wars canon book series, and I loved this. 5 out of 5 stars, new favourite Star Wars book. If you love your Star Wars books, definitely pick this up. The next challenge was to read a book in under 24 hours, and for that I read Lifespan of Starlight by Talia Kalkipsakis. I don't know where my copy of it has gone, but I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was just an enjoyable read. The next challenge was to read a book that you have seen everywhere, and for that I read Carve the Mark because I literally see this everywhere. I did not give this a rating, and if you've seen my review you will know why, but feel free, I will leave a link to it on the screen so that you can check it out. All I'll say is this book had so much potential, and I think it was squandered for a multitude of reasons. For the challenge, read a book that takes place in a country other than your own. There are a lot of books that I could have picked from this TBR to throw on there, but because I read Still Life with Tornado by A.S. King, I'm going to throw that on there. I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. Highly recommend this read. The next challenge was to read a book that you're annoyed at yourself for not having read yet, and that was Embassy Town by China Mayville, because I had this book sitting on my shelf for ages and I read it and I did really enjoy it, but I only gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars because I think this went way over my head. For the challenge, read a book that was expensive. I picked Revenger by Alistair Reynolds because this cost me over $30, and unfortunately it fell really flat for me. I think I only gave it 2.75 out of 5 stars. So cost versus benefit ratio severely out of whack. For the next book I combined 2 challenges, one which was to read a book without any hype, and the second was to read a book with an animal, to feature an animal or have an animal on the front cover, and for that I picked How to Be by Bren McDibble, and I gave that 4 out of 5 stars. And the last challenge I completed was to read a book that's like candy to you, and in the end I put A Pieces of You against that category because, guys, this was just so fun and adorable and I enjoyed it. It's by Claudia Gray. Good book. So that concludes my Emojiathon wrap-up. Since July marks 1 year on BookTube for me, because I've been making videos for a few years, but I've been making book videos for a year now, which, yay, milestone. But I have decided to combine 2 sort of video themes that are going on, one on Lala from Books and Lala's channel and one from Julie from Pages and Pens channel, Lala's been doing a yearly challenge where she looks back at her hauls from 2 years previously, sees which books she's read, unhauled, and hasn't read yet, and her goal is to read all of the unread books for that month 2 years ago in the current month, and if she doesn't read them, she has to unhaul them. If you haven't seen those videos, I'll leave a link to them down below. They're really, really great. I highly recommend you check them out. But I also saw one on Julie's channel from Pages and Pens, and she's been doing book haul revisits, so where she's looked back and done the same sort of thing, but without the obligation of unhauling. So I'm sort of going to be combining a few things, and I'm going to do a video a little bit later this month revisiting my very first book haul and looking at all the books that I've read and that I haven't read. What I am also going to try and do is from now on try and read those books that I've had sitting on my shelf for 12 months and try and get through them, because I think that's going to help motivate me to actually get through what I have on my shelf. So I only actually have 2 books from that first book haul that I haven't read yet, and one of them is R2-D2's Guide to Folding and Doodling, and it's a Star Wars themed book. This isn't really, strictly speaking, a book itself, but I actually haven't had a really good look through it, so I'm planning on doing that this month. And the only novel that I haven't read from that book haul is Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson, and I'm definitely going to get to this month because I've been putting it off, and I just need to do it. I also have to read Rep by Fleur Ferris because this is the YA Room's book of the month. I've got to read it before book club at the end of the month. I'm actually excited to read it. I've seen this around and I've been very curious to pick it up. The next books are books that I would like to get to this month, but I am not under the same obligation as those other books. This first one has actually been on my shelf for much, much longer, and I have actually read it before, but I haven't reread it in a while, and I wanted to actually reread it, get to it, and remember how much I loved it, and that is The Invention of Hugo Cabret by Brian Selznick. I would also like to finally get to Skullduggery Pleasant Resurrection, because I picked it up in the week that it was released, and I still haven't read it yet because I was doing my Emojiathon TBR, but I really want to get to this month. I also really want to get to Our Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab. This will be one of the first books that I read this month, I hope, because I've been waiting for this book for so long. And the last 3 books that I want to try and read this month are part of the Children's Book Council of Australia shortlisted books, and I know I've talked about this a lot, but I want to get to Where by Meg Caddy, Frankie by Siobhan Ploser, and One Would Think the Deep by Claire Zorn, because Book Week is coming up in August and I want to have them read before then. Ugh, books are heavy. So that is my Emojiathon wrap-up and my July TBR. Let me know in the comments, did you complete Emojiathon? How many challenges did you get through? What were the books that stood out for you? I'd also love to know, what book are you most hoping to read in July? I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. See you later.